Hey friend, welcome to my studio, my channel. I'm Heather and I love painting photorealistic images, but I love more helping you find your creative voice. Some of you will know that I've just finished hanging an exhibition with a friend, a collaborative exhibition. So I've been working through a whole heap of different things that I needed to do in order to finish off a painting. So today is all about finishing off a painting. I'm going to give you 5 steps in how you can finish off a painting really well, about signing off and getting on to your next piece. Some of you will know I've just finished hanging an exhibition with a friend, Kristin McFarlane. It's actually currently on display at the moment at Yering Station in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. It was a big journey, learnt a lot, made mistakes, all sorts of things through it. I certainly learnt a lot, and I knew that I would be very exhausted. It was around the end of the year, and in the middle of it all, I found out that I had a skin cancer that I needed to have an operation on fairly quickly. I got it all out, thankfully. So that all happened in the middle of all that. So I knew I needed to take some time off, which has been absolutely wonderful with family and lots of rest, lots of watching Christmas movies and playing games and all sorts of things with the family. But it brings me to now. It's been a few weeks of rest. Yesterday, I decided to start doing some planning, and oh my goodness, I'm very excited about the year. I was sitting there overwhelmed to start with because I have so many ideas and so many things that you want to know, so many questions that I've had over the last 10 years. So what I did was I just wrote them all out. And I think it was over 90 questions and things that I really want to somehow put into some courses this year. One of the questions that I wanted to share with you today, like I mentioned, is how to finish off a painting. And just recently I finished off some big paintings and learnt a lot in the process, and I wanted to share what I've learnt with you. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you was something that I learnt way back, maybe 12 years ago, when I first started painting more seriously. I really think I only had 2 paintings, maybe quite big oil paintings, just started learning oil painting. And I happened to be in the presence of a really well-known curator, Australian curator. She was about to curate, I find it hard to say that word, curate, an exhibition in Tasmania. Anyway, I just said to her, look, I want to exhibit eventually. That's one thing I had decided. I wanted to know what the protocol was. How do I move forward with this? And she said 2 things to me. Well, she said probably more than that, but the 2 things that stood out to me was, the first one was I needed to make a decision. And that was whether my art was to just be one-off on a wall in someone's home or business, and no one else will have it in their home, or it won't be duplicated. So just a one-off. And the second option was to paint your painting and possibly sell it, but duplicate it. So photograph it and duplicate it into prints or other things that you want to actually put that art on. So that was the first decision that I had to make. And that was pretty easy for me because I didn't want my work just to be in one person's home. So that's about the exposure of your paintings, whether you want just one person to see it on their wall or whether you want to duplicate it and more people will get to see that image. The second thing was, I said, what do people do with signing a painting? A long time ago, and you can look up the history of signing things, but it was very much about people knowing that that was the painting, that's your painting, you know. So she said to me, look, more recently, people aren't signing. Quite famous people aren't signing their pieces on the front, but they do sign them on the back, or have some way of people knowing that it's theirs. And she said, but some people do sign it on the front, and it doesn't necessarily have to be down the corner on the right-hand corner. Anything goes, really. People hide their signature in amongst the paintings, etc., etc. But for me, I still haven't really got my act together in this way. In fact, the exhibition just passed. I ran out of time. I hadn't signed. I think I signed one of them very faintly I don't like my signature being seen. I don't want it to overpower the painting. So what I'm actually going to do, if the paintings do sell, I'm going to sign on the back with a texter. Like some of my friends, Indigenous friends, they all do that. They sign their name and the date and also the name of the painting on the back, so it's permanently there. So that's more the track that I want to go. But you can choose to do whatever you like, do some research on that, but try and decide what you want to do now so that there is some consistency. The second thing that I wanted to share with you was finishing off your edges and framing. I don't want to talk so much about framing. You can go and explore a bit more about that, but the edges. Often a lot of my students, and possibly many of you, paint paintings that have quite a thick edge to them. And a lot of people ask, do I leave it white? Do I paint it a color? Do I wrap around the image? My answer is, and my curator's friend's answer would be, anything goes. I was in an art shop the other day and this artist was talking about how he finishes off his paintings. And you know what he does is he leaves it, he staple guns the raw edge to the front. He doesn't even wrap it around the edges. So anything goes. You can choose what you like. I do suggest though that as you're painting, if you want to wrap the color around, do it as you're going, because it's hard to go back and do that. Sometimes you want to rush at the end and get something done to frame, and I would suggest if you're using oils, use acrylic to paint around the edges. Even if you're just doing it in one color, do it in acrylic, so then it will dry quicker, ready for framing. You can go and get it framed however you like, or you can leave it raw on the edges. If you're exhibiting a piece in an exhibition or a show, they will say that a canvas that is wrapped around a frame is framed. The third way to finish off your painting really beautifully is varnishing. Now, please, I am not a professional in this area. You can go and research so much more on the internet about this. I'm just giving you the rawness of the mistakes and the things that I've done and the way that I like to do things. My recent exhibition had quite a lot of dark areas on it. I had a lot of challenges with it, with the heat, and I learnt so much about how not to do things. But I had to make a decision whether I was going to use a gloss varnish or a satin varnish. That was a little bit of a tricky decision. I decided because my paintings were quite dark and had lots of variation even in the flat colours, I wanted to really even it out. So putting a gloss on is just going to bounce that light off and keep it really even. I did have challenges. Do not paint in the heat. Make sure that you have an air conditioner on if it's really hot, because the varnish started to separate. I had a whole week of researching and stressing out and decided to just go back and put the aircon on and put another layer on, and it totally fixed the job. So I was really happy about that. When I first started varnishing, I was pretty nervous about getting a brush out and actually wiping over my paintings. So I use this a lot. So this is your picture varnish gloss. It says varnish for oils and acrylics. I use that a lot. If you're nervous about getting out a brush, which I was for years, probably 67 years, I was just using this. And many of the paintings that I've sold, I have done a number of layers on this. You hold it probably certain distance away. Again, research how to do it. I have to do it certain ways and do a few layers. Don't do it when there's lots of bugs around, because they will stick to it. Again, there's lots and lots of other things I could say about the whole process and how to do it and how not to do it. Today's not a lot about detail, but more about helping you go down the track of varnishing. I think it's a really, really important thing to do, and it makes a painting look amazing. So just so you can see a little bit of a sample of what happens when you varnish on the different things. So if you can see here, the actual painting is where I put my finger there. You can see that's the actual painting. So this one here on the edge is the gloss. This is the satin. That's the paint on ones, and this is the matte. And this one here down here is the spray. So you can see that all of them give a little bit more of a, if I can get it on the right angle, you can sort of see the color here, it's come a lot more deeper. So the colors, especially the darks, it actually evens out the darks so beautifully, and I love the way that does that. So you can see the colors just come a lot more richer. So again, this one was the gloss, this is the satin, and this is the matte. So those are the three that are all wipe on, so with a brush. And this one here I did with the spray. So don't be afraid, have a go at it, experiment. That's what I've done along the way. There's lots of things online that you can go and look at what products, what are available in your area. I use Langridge. It's an Australian product. I really love it, and I've got to know it. Once you get to know a product, it's good to stick with it so that you know how it works. So anyway, I really encourage you to varnish a painting. It's very rewarding. So the fourth thing is photographing your work. Now, this is another area that I learned a lot about just in the last month or so. My paintings were very glossed because I had varnished them with gloss. I needed to do that to even everything out, but also very big. And I did quite a lot of research on how to use the lighting. I have like soft lights that I use, in the studio here. I had to work really hard and not getting a shine on my canvas. I ended up taking a photo and then moving the canvas and taking another photo so that the gloss was in a different spot. And then I photoshopped them together and it came out really good, as you can see here, but it took a little bit of work. So if you're not someone who's big on photoshopping or editing so much, you might be able to find someone else who can photograph your work. I'm not really going into a lot of advice today, probably do spend just one whole YouTube on that particular subject in the future, but I want to encourage you to photograph your paintings. You want to document them. Even if you only want one person to see it, you want to actually remember that particular painting. The fifth thing, and I do have a bonus, so hang around, I thought of one more thing, but the fifth thing for this particular section was documenting your work. Today I made up a little document here at paintingwithheather.com/document. If you go there, you'll be able to download 3 different ways of being able to document your artwork. What do I mean by document? I mean ways to catalog everything so that you know the name, the size, the medium, even if someone's bought it, their name, all sorts of things. I found an amazing website. It is a subscription fee, so I've got other options that are free, but Artwork Archive is incredible. As you can see here, it integrates into your website, so I can just put a code into my website and there it is. It's a collection that I've made in this particular cataloging website. I love it so much. But anyway, what I really want to encourage you with is to please document your work. Even if you've only just started, got 1 or 2 pieces, find a Google Doc. Again, it's at this link here, paintingwithheather.com/document. There are 3 different options. There's the Artwork Archive. Like I said, that's a paid one. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. I also have a download that's an Excel sheet that has all the different categories that you can document your work in. And I also have, for those of you that don't want to do digital stuff, I've got a link to a download that you can print out and just put it in a nice folder so that you've got that there. What's great about that particular document is you can have that to laminate and put on the back of a painting when it sells, or if it sells, or just as a record for you as well. So documenting is a really important thing to do. You'll thank me later when you've done 10 or 20 different paintings and you can't remember the name, you can't remember where it is. It'll be really helpful information to have. And I'm so grateful, especially with this last exhibition. All I had to do was just go in, make a collection and pop it up on my website. It took me literally 10 minutes to do. It was so helpful. In the past, I've been looking through files and going, where is that photo? Where's the quality photo? What's the size of it? Having to go and measure it. But it's all there now, so it's so good. The bonus that I wanted to share with you was hanging. Now, I'm not really going to go into it very detailed here today. I'll do another YouTube that's just about hanging. But it's really important that you do have a way to hang your painting, especially if you're going to sell it. Even if you're just going to hang it at home. If you have really big paintings like what I have recently had, you'll see here we hung them from the edges. So you have little D hooks, and when you have big heavy paintings, and nearly all paintings I would suggest this unless they're really tiny, you want to hang your D hooks 10 centimeters down from the top, and the reason is so that they don't hang out from the wall. If you put your D hooks too far down on a canvas or on a frame, then you're going to get this angle on the whole thing. So the closer up you can get it, if you can go really high, sometimes that's really helpful too if it's a really heavy wooden frame. So there you go. There's all of my 5 suggestions with the bonus on how to finish off your painting. I hope that's been helpful. You can go to this download and there's 3 different ways that you can document your work. Please go and do it. You'll thank me later. It's a really lovely way to celebrate your work and what you've done. So just a bit of a recap. What are the 5 things and the bonus that I encourage you to do when finishing off a painting? The first one is, before you get too serious and too many paintings down the track, you want to decide if you like signing and how you want to sign it, and also what exposure you want to have. The second thing is, while you're painting a painting, you want to decide what you want to do with the edges. The third thing is, do you want to varnish? Do you want to use satin? Do you want to use gloss? Do you want to use spray? The fourth thing is, make sure you photograph your paintings. The fifth thing is, document your work so you can catalogue and find the details later. You're going to thank me. And the last one is, make sure you have a way of hanging your painting. I hope that's been helpful today. I've really enjoyed gathering all this information for you. Love to hear a comment below about what you found helpful about this particular episode, or what you might like me to touch on in the future. Well, I'm going to get into 2025 it is. I'm really excited about what's to come. I have some really cool things ahead for you, so keep an eye out on emails. And if you want to, again, go and look at that document, it's here. And until next time, keep creating, and I'll see you next week.